I bet to win the game. I bet to win the bets, and I'm going to lose bets. I may lose this bet. I'm going to lose many other bets. I lose a bet every single day. Everything in my life is betting, and I don't need to show a profit on every single bet that I make. People who want to hedge, they're like, I want to show a profit on this bet. And it's like, why? I'm all for hedging if you think the outcome's going to be different. And we're going to talk about that with the Rams here coming up. If I really legitimately thought that the Patriots were good value, then I would bet the Patriots.
Welcome, everybody, to Gamble Up episode 18, off and running. I am your host, Dave Schwartz, alongside Roscoe P. Coltrane.
You know why I'm here.
We do know why you're here. And Mr. David Baker in Las Vegas. David, how are you?
Bittersweet show we're about to record here. So we've got some good, we got some bad, and let's dive in.
What a weekend of football we just had. 3 great games and one predictable one that we I think probably all had. So let's hammer through some of the games, talk about some of the fallout, what's going to happen here in Conference Championship weekend, and just talk football this week. We'll stick to some poker next week, see what's going on in the poker world, and just kind of stick to football this week and a bunch next week, and I'm sure too. So quickly, let's get back to the games that happened this weekend. And let's start off with the Broncos, the one we're going to talk about a lot, I'm sure. The Broncos and the Bills. The Broncos winning in overtime, 33-30. Fantastic football game. Just, I sit here watching football games, and whether I win or lose, I just love this time of year. I love these games. I love the pressure. I love watching players that we've looked at and talked about all year, kind of how do they respond. And one of the guys that we've talked about all year, and you've talked about all year, Dave, is Bo Nix. And he's up he's up against Josh Allen in this game. And frankly, I'm a Josh Allen guy. I love Josh Allen, but Bo Nix outplayed Josh Allen. And we'll talk a little bit about the fallouts to what happened after this game. But just a fantastic game by the Broncos and Bo Nix, and a fantastic football game to watch. First, kind of your overreaching thoughts on the game, Dave, and then maybe we'll get into some of the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna start where not one single media outlet has started. I've watched every bit of content that I can over the last few days, and every single one leads off with the Bills and Josh Allen. While they're talking about every other game, they start with the winner. And with that one, all they want to talk about is the loser. And I'm going to start out and just give props to my man, Bo Nix. I mean, I know obviously I'm a huge Bo Nix fan. I've done nothing but support him. If you watch our show, you listen to our show, you consume my content, you know that I'm a huge Bo Nix fan and stan. But the reality is he lived up to the billing this week. And there is absolutely no way that you can tear him down for this performance. All the haters aside, you just have to look and give this man his credit. With 30 seconds left in the first half, he threw an absolute dart to Lil Jordan Humphrey, who caught the ball in the end zone finally after dropping it in the first half. But that's a play that the elite quarterbacks make, and the average or good ones most of the time don't make. It's a lot of times, honestly, coaches don't even have confidence in their guy to call a play and not just secure the 3 points. And then, obviously with 55 seconds left, that throw to Mims was as elite gets. He was versus a backup DB, but props on the coaching staff and Nix for finding that. But even against nobody, like throwing that pass with 55 seconds left was outstanding.
Let's take it back just quickly to your point there. At the end of the first half, Humphrey gets the separation there. And I think the Mims one, both great throws, of course, but I think the Mims one was better just because of the coverage it was in.
Oh, of course.
I thought, there was a lot of room underneath for that Humphrey one, but he still threw a dart to him. Totally agree. But fantastic quarterbacking both. But the contrast there at the end of that first half is when we talk about Josh Allen versus Bo Nix is clear, right? He throws the touchdown. Broncos go up and kick the ball back with, 15 seconds left or something. And Allen runs a completely no upside play. He runs for 10 yards and has the football like a loaf of bread, and fumbles the ball in his own within the field goal range. So now Denver recovers the ball, kicks field goal that was completely unnecessary. There's no upside there at all for Josh Allen, and just do a slide tackle or hook slide, and half is over. Like, what is he doing there?
He presses all the buttons. That's what he does.
He was mashing buttons.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I've been a Josh Allen fan for years. Less of one today than I was a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. Especially a week ago. I mean, the Bills fans and the national media have really turned me off a little bit on Josh, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Look, this is the Josh Allen experience.
Yeah.
Yes, he's Superman. Yes, he does some amazing, crazy things, but with that, he puts the ball in harm's way. And I hear all the apologists talk about, well, yeah, you won, but you had 5 turnovers. It's like, yeah, my guy took care of the ball. My guy didn't take sacks. My guy got out of the pocket and he went down. My guy threw the ball away when he was in peril. He did have one bad interception. That's going to happen in a football game. I mean, Mahomes has interceptions. Brady has interceptions. Joe Montana has interceptions. Like, interceptions happen. But how about giving the guy some credit for in the biggest game of his life?
Against the best quarterback in football.
And against the number 1 rated pass defense. He didn't make mistakes. And part of winning is just allowing yourself to hang around long enough. Akin to a poker tournament, it's a lot of times like just getting there to the end means because you didn't put yourself in harm's way. You didn't just overrip 15 blinds with some piece of shit hand and run into something. Like, you managed to just protect your stack. You managed to maybe call in a situation that others might have raised. You managed to fold in a close spot. And that's okay. Part of the game is hanging around long enough so that good things can happen to you. Let's just take a second and see, what if these games were completely flipped? If Josh Allen would have thrown a pass down 4 with 55 seconds left and put his team up, the amount of knob slobbing that would be going on with in the national media right now would be through the roof. Very few people say anything about Bo Nix. If Bo Nix would have missed his tight end streaking down the field for a game-winning touchdown and overthrew him by 3 yards, the amount of slack that Bo Nix would have gotten. If Bo Nix was carrying the ball like a loaf of bread with 15 seconds left in the half, with no timeouts left, not in field goal position, and got it knocked out, he would have gotten absolutely killed. Yeah. But all I hear is Bo Nix won because Josh Allen turned it over 5 times. All this nonsense. And I think it's time that we put that to rest. And we just, first of all, look at this thing from the Bo Nix side and the Denver Broncos side. Sean Payton called a great game.
Yeah.
Bo Nix played a great game. The team didn't commit penalties. The team didn't commit turnovers. The team didn't lose its head when it blew a 13-point lead and they got down. They stayed poised. Before we get into the Bills stuff, I just want to give this Broncos team all the credit. And obviously, we're going to discuss the Bo Nix injury. But before we did, look, I understand not liking players. I understand rooting against players. There are players that I don't like. There are players that, but you've got to sometimes just admire the greatness of the moment. And I'm going to right now officially declare my hate for Mahomes dead. After seeing how people just hate on what Bo Nix has done just because they don't like the guy, you know what? I'm going to turn over a new leaf. I'm going to start.
You're a Mahomes guy? You're going to get a jersey?
I'm not going to be a Mahomes guy, but you know what? When he finds ways to win and he does crazy things, you know what? I'm going to give him his credit.
There's few better than Mahomes at doing
that. I'm putting my sword on the ground and I'm calling a truce to Mahomes, because now, as a Knicks lover and a Mahomes not hater, we can all rally against the whining, complaining, baby Buffalo Bills fans that always find an excuse as to why they don't win, because their team is not made of winners. They're made of losers.
And their latest excuse, right? And let's talk about this now, is officiating. What's the catch? As Josh Allen throws that pass to Brandon Cooks in overtime and he hits the ground, and simultaneously the Denver defensive back comes up with the ball and it's ruled a turnover, and we go down the field and kick the field goal. I don't know. In the moment, I thought, and I think, first off, I'm done with these referees on the broadcast that are opining on if it's a catch or not, it tilts me to no end, because there's never any disagreement almost ever with the calls in the field. And I don't need to hear from this guy anymore. I can watch and hear. Even the commentators are good enough at it now to just talk about the rule, and I don't need the ref coming in. I don't know how you feel about that, but that tilted me. And so talk about, first off, thoughts on these guys just kind of going along with what's going on.
I mean, I understand, and I like the fact that they're there to actually explain what the rule is, and how they're supposed to interpret it. I understand that a majority of the time they're going to take the company line and they're going to defend the ref, but they have called them out a few times. I mean, I thought this one was, I find this completely a disingenuous argument by people. I mean, in no world was that ever a catch. He did not maintain control to the ground. If the ball hits the ground afterwards, because McMillan strips it as he's going to the ground before it's fully secured in his hands, it's an incomplete pass. It obviously cannot be an incomplete pass because it didn't hit the ground. Therefore, it's an interception. I honestly don't even think that people really believe what they're saying. I think it's engagement, farming, and baiting. There really is no argument. We've seen this play 50 times in the NFL. Like, it's almost never ruled a catch. Yes, you might be able to find one spot. I think the Aaron Rodgers play for Baltimore. Yes, they get things wrong. They do. Almost every time this is ruled an incomplete pass or an interception, and it will continue to be that way because it's just plain and simple not a catch. I mean, Brandon Cooks does not possess the ball long enough for it to ever be a catch. So yeah, I mean, I find this argument completely disingenuous. And if we're going to slam the refs, there was a holding play earlier, and then there was a holding play that wasn't called. That was a big gain down the middle, and then there was the biggest holding play was the one that happened in the end zone. That just ends the game. And we obviously don't have the Bo Nix injury. I mean, that was as clear as day. I think if they called holding there, I mean, obviously you'd have 15% or 20% of the people that are currently doing the rage baiting saying, oh, you have to let the players decide, blah, blah, blah. You can't call that in the moment. But I think 80% of the people would be like, yeah, that's a clear hold. Like, he was going to sack him. There's no argument that is more hollow to me than let the players decide by not calling penalties. The players are deciding. The players are deciding to cheat, and you have to call out cheating. That is part of the game. If you are holding, you are cheating. If you are interfering, you are cheating. Like, this is part of the game. This is why we have officials. You cannot say, let the players decide. Yes, if it's very, very close, you can. But in the most obvious, egregious situations, which the hold in the end zone was clear and obvious. The roughing the passer that was called on the first PI was clear and obvious. Maybe the PI wasn't. Maybe we can debate that one was. But the one right before it was pretty close to, and I believe that it was kind of like, we're going to let you get away with this once, but the second time we're going to call it. But then the third PI / second PI, because the first one was not even called. I mean, the one against Mims, that was as clear as day. Like, that's a touchdown if he doesn't interfere with him. I mean, that is a clear touchdown. And now we're talking about Marvin Mims and Bo Nix connecting on back-to-back touchdowns, both to pull ahead and then win the game in overtime. You have to call that. I mean, you just have to. So, that's kind of how I feel about those. I mean, and then I understand that Riley Moss did kind of interfere with Brandon Cooks in the corner of the end zone. That could have been called. That ball was clearly uncatchable, and there was a little hand fighting both ways. And if they would have called that, I thought it was ticky-tack, but I would have understood it. There is no great conspiracy to make sure that Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos make it, and that Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills were not allowed to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, this is not a conspiracy.
Yeah, you bring up the pass interference stuff, and those two calls, obviously there's hand fighting going on. And this reminds me a lot, I know you don't watch hockey, but this reminds me of the NHL, and where a lot of the rules during the regular season get thrown out the window in the playoffs. And what's pass interference, what isn't? These DBs are in a tough spot, and they need to push the envelope as much as they can to try to grab grab a jersey here, grab an elbow here, make it look like they're, running through and run over. I mean, they have to do as much as they can because these wide receivers and the quarterbacks are so good that they're going to thread the ball in there. And it's hard to watch some of these games where some things get called and some things don't get called. You could just blanket, if you touch the receiver at any point past 5 yards, it's a penalty. You could have that, but you'd also have 65, 60 football games, right? So, these refs are in a tough spot. And those, I thought those two calls were clear as well, just like you mentioned. But man, it's tough to be a DB in this league.
Yeah, it's very, very subjective. I mean, the holding play on James Bradbury for the Eagles against the Chiefs that basically won the Chiefs the Super Bowl was 1/10 as egregious as any of these plays. Look, I mean, it's part of it. Sometimes it goes against me, and yeah, I mean, I've called out a couple things, but for the most part, you just have to accept that those are part of it. Obviously, we all have fun with the Chiefs narrative because it's just kind of fun and it's a bit and whatever. But I mean, at the end of the day, the Marvin Mims interference was so absolutely clear. If you did not call that, you are not letting the players decide. You are deciding as a ref. That was the clearest pass interference you'll ever see in your life. He literally rips his arms down. They say, well, the ball was underthrown. The ball was not really underthrown. It might have been underthrown a touch, but Marvin Mims was going to catch that football. Like, he had him. He also did it on a broken ankle. So, I mean, if we're going to rip Nix on that, that was a hell of a throw for a guy with a broken ankle.
Let's talk about the Bills. We mentioned it. Sean McDermott gets fired after the game. He kind of goes on a rant about the refs after the game. I'm not sure why. And he gets fired. Josh Allen, is it time? Again, you and I are both Josh Allen fans, or have been in the year.
For sure.
Is it time to admit this guy can't win big games? He wasn't good. He was not good in this game.
Winning is a skill, and people want to say, okay, well, Aaron Rodgers was more skillful than Tom Brady. Well, you know what? Aaron Rodgers went to one Super Bowl his entire career because he might have been able to throw the ball through a tire better than Brady. He might have been able to throw with more RPMs than Brady, but you know what? He wasn't as good as Brady because when it mattered the most, he didn't deliver. And when Brady did, he did. Mahomes, I don't think Mahomes is as skilled as Josh Allen. Some people might disagree with that. I don't. But regardless, Mahomes has a clutch gene, and Allen has not shown that he does to this point. Now, we're dealing with small sample sizes, but Josh Allen is 0-7 in overtimes in the playoffs. 0-7. Only one of those times did he not touch the football. So 6 different times he had a chance to score to win the football game, and he did not deliver. If Bo Nix does that one time, we're slamming him. We're absolutely killing him. And Josh Allen gets a pass. If Lamar does that, he is getting slammed. Lamar gets more criticism for his failures. Jalen Hurts has a Super Bowl. He had one of the greatest Super Bowl performances in a loss. He gets slammed when he does anything bad. Josh Allen somehow has this cloak of invincibility around him. And it sucks because I like Josh Allen and I want to be a fan, but the apologists are out of control on Josh Allen. I mean, you don't win points for being the most stylistic quarterback. You win by winning football games. And he, to this point, has not proven that he can. And this tirade that Sean McDermott went on after the game, I mean, shows some freaking class.
Yeah.
I mean, there are close plays in the game. It was not a catch. And even if you do believe it was close. And close calls, this is what he should have said. We battled hard. There are close plays that make up a football game. We were on the wrong side of some of those, and we got to get back to work, and we got to get better and take the ball out of the hands of the refs in the close plays. And we're going to have to rally as a team because, we've got a strong infrastructure here, and I can't wait to get back to work with these guys because, we have a team full of winners here, and this doesn't represent who we are. And he would still be the coach today if he had done that, I believe.
Wow. So you think there's more going on, or you think it was that speech that got him fired?
I think that kind of pushed over the top. I mean, it basically gave them an outlet to, I don't know. I mean, look, let's look at the final 8 coaches left in the playoffs. And when we're ranking the quarterbacks, we're kind of like arguing about, well, who's 3, who's 4, who's 6. We don't know. But when we're doing the coaches in the final 8 that made this round of playoffs, there was 7, and then there was Sean McDermott. I mean, Sean McDermott was clearly the 8th best coach left in the field. So look, I understand and I see what he's built there. And do I think he deserved to get fired? I don't know. I'm not as deep in the Buffalo Bills streets as some of the people out there. But what I do know is that you only get so many chances with elite talent and an elite quarterback and an opportunity to go out and win the Super Bowl. You only get so many chances, and then it's time for somebody else to try, because voices get repetitive after a while. And I feel like that's probably what happened there in Buffalo. And I'm fine with the change, just being a neutral observer. I think that it's okay. Obviously the way that was handled, and people don't like Bean, and obviously they blame him for some of the roster construction and things like that. But at the end of it, maybe it's not so much the roster construction as maybe they didn't get coached up right. I mean, everybody wants to blame when guys fail on the players, but look, let's look at Sean Payton's roster of receivers. They lost their number 2 receiver early in the game, Troy Franklin. They lost their number 3 receiver early in the game, Pat Bryant. They have Marvin Mims, who has basically been a kick returner and a gadget guy. They have Lil Jordan Humphrey, who was basically the blocking wide receiver. And then they had Cortland Sutton, who was absolutely terrible in this game. They have 3 receivers. They have a tight end that stinks, Evan Ingram. They have a running game. Their number 1 running back has been on the IR for a month and a half, in J.K. Dobbins. They found a way to win. Don't give me this bullshit about roster and your weapons and all that stuff. It's all just hollow excuses as far as I'm concerned.
Unfortunately, Bo Nix, on the third to last play, does his ankle, and he's out for, and just absolutely brutal break. You hate to see this. Even if you're just a football fan, you want to see what Bo Nix can do in the Final Four, and he's gone for the year. He had surgery. It's Jared Sidden time. We'll talk about that coming up when we preview the games, but just sort of heartbreak here for Bo Nix. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was very sad. I mean, I was so happy after the Broncos won. I've invested so much emotionally, reputational, financially in this Broncos season because of Bo Nix. And, to go from the absolute pinnacle of excitement, beating Josh Allen, being in the AFC Championship game as a favorite at home with your favorite player, to just literally like 30 minutes, an hour later, opening Twitter and checking to see whether they were, troll accounts or if they were real, saying that Bo Nix was out. I got sad. Like, I mean, I was physically sad, which, I don't know what that says for me. I mean, might mean I care too much, or maybe I have too much money invested or whatever. But, I was legitimately sad for, 24 to 48 hours. I'm still a little sad, to be honest. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I care too much. Maybe I put too much of my reputation or my thought process in this. But what I do want to say, the most tired take that I've seen on Twitter is people saying that if you think the Broncos can win this week, you didn't really believe in Bo Nix. If the Broncos go out and win this game, that just proves Bo Nix isn't the guy. That all that stuff is the biggest crock of bullshit I've ever heard. If Josh Allen got hurt and Mitch Trubisky came in and they won a football game, nobody would be saying that. Like, sometimes backups come in and they're able to rally a team. Sometimes guys step up because the backup's in there.
Sometimes coaches have a week to prepare and plan a fantastic game plan.
Yeah, I mean, things are going to happen, and I hope Stidham plays the game of his life, and I hope he goes out there and he's 30 for 36 with 3 touchdowns and no picks. And if that happens, that'll be great. But none of that is going to diminish what Bo Nix has become. And even if Bo Nix played this football game and he was terrible, none of it would diminish the fact that what he has done. You cannot take away, like, we want to look at our favorite athletes, and we want to look at the times where they've been the absolute best and only acknowledge that. And we want to take a look at the athletes we never believed in or that we don't like, and we want to take a look at their absolute worst moments. And
Yeah.
I just want to say that, like, whatever happens in this football game, it doesn't take away the fact that Bo has proven that he is a top quarterback in this league for a long time to come, and that he deserves all the praises that I've given him and others have given him. And it's time that we look at this guy different. I like Jarrett Stidham. He went to Auburn University. Obviously, all the stuff behind me, Auburn stuff. That's Auburn. That's Auburn. I like Bo Nix because he went to Auburn. I like Jarrett Stidham because he went to Auburn. So yeah, I'm excited to see another Auburn man out there for him, and we'll break that game down a little bit. But I'm excited for the opportunity for Jarrett, but I am sad that Bo's not going to be there.
Let's move on. Seahawks 41, 49ers 6. The Seahawks take the opening kickoff back for a touchdown and score enough points in the first 15 seconds to win the game. Their defense was fantastic. This was a complete beatdown, and a lot of the things that we were talking about all year about the 49ers really came true in this game, I thought. We looked at their schedule and went, geez, that's one of the easiest schedules ever assembled in the regular season. Proved to be true. They were good, and they certainly had their moments, but they ran into a real football team here on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I was slow to get on the Seattle bandwagon, even though I've always been a Sam Darnold fan. I didn't know what this defense and what this offensive line was going to be able to do, and they've just gotten better as the year's gone on. And yeah, I mean, I believe in the Seahawks, and they just sucked the will out of this team. I think this was just basically a continuation of the first game, and Seattle, once they showed that they were, able to clamp down, kind of like a boa constrictor, like, I think the Niners were just like, yep, we don't have it. And I feel like I'm not really sure, good or what we can take away from this Seattle team on this game, but we do know that they clamped down and they forced their will and basically just took the will right out of the Niners from the get-go. It'll be interesting to see when Darnold and McDonald are put in positions where the game is closer, if they're able to rise to the challenge. But props to them for coming out in a playoff game. Sam Darnold had never really had a good playoff game, so he got to play this one on easy mode, but I don't think that necessarily means that he wouldn't have been able to deliver if they didn't put it on easy mode. So I'm not going to take anything away from Darnold. I'm just basically going to give him an incomplete on the performance, because I really don't think there's enough information to take from there. I mean, the team was dominant, and the Niners are kind of who we thought they were. I thought the Eagles would be able to do this to them, but the Eagles are so dysfunctional they weren't. But yeah, props to Seattle and McDonald for basically handling the businit. And
they can only beat who's put in front of them, right? And they did that clearly.
And they did it convincingly. So it was a great performance. It was a great performance by the Seattle collective.
I was thinking as you were talking about Bo Nix that to a lesser extent, I think you can say a lot of those things about Sam Darnold too, right? He's been hated on for quite a long time, and rightly so. Like, he hasn't got the job done. He had a great year, and he's had a great playoff so far. He hasn't beat somebody like Josh Allen, the Bills yet, but if he does, I think you can talk a lot about him in the same vein that you talk about Bo Nix, or you did just talk about Bo Nix.
Yeah, I've been on the Sam Darnold bandwagon since the beginning. I liked the pick from the Jets. I liked the signing by the Vikings. I liked it for the Seahawks. I think Sam Darnold has been underrated. It's taken him a little longer. Sometimes guys don't just find it early on. We're such a quick football judging society as to just get an opinion and stick to it, and not understand that these are human beings that have the ability to learn and get better and figure things out. And Sam Darnold has done that. And I think he's always had the skills, but now he has the mind to be able to succeed in this environment. And he's done it. So yeah, props to Sam.
All right, let's move on from a couple good quarterbacking performances to one that was god awful, and that was the Pats beating the Texans 28-16. CJ Stroud, I don't know how you can say anything but terrible in this game. He threw 5 passes that I just shook my head in, and what the hell is he thinking? One of the worst pick sixes I've ever seen. He just heaved it up in the air like a 15-yard punt or something. It was terrible. just a horrible decision. I don't know how an NFL quarterback can make. And this game really didn't ever seem to be in doubt for me. And the score, probably closer, I think, than the game was. And it really contrasted for me the young quarterbacks that we've been talking about all year, and somebody like CJ Stroud, who clearly is not in their ballpark yet. Does he get there? I don't know, but he sure didn't even come close to it this weekend.
Yeah, very disappointing outing by CJ. I was very early in his career, his first year. I thought that he was the real deal. He showed me a lot, and he's done nothing in the last 2 years to do anything except just prove that that was a little too early and a little too much praise for him. He's not a good quarterback right now. And he was terrible. He was downright awful. He performed like people think Sam Darnold and Bo Nix are. That's pretty much what they are expecting Sam and Bo to look like, is what CJ was. Yeah, he's rightly getting criticized now, and there's some severe questions on his future. Look, the offensive line was terrible. His receivers were god awful, but that does not excuse the horrendous game management things that he did. Just simply what I talked about with Bo, and look, Bo didn't put the ball in harm's way, and CJ did, and he got punished for it. He does have a very bad offensive line. And like I said, the receivers were really, really bad. He didn't have Nico, but more importantly, the receivers he did have just didn't catch the football. So he didn't really get any help either, but there is just no excuse for the way that he did not take care of the football, not only in that game, but in the Pittsburgh game too.
Yeah.
And so, there's some real question marks on his future. Definitely, on one side, I want to heap all the blame on CJ and, to a lesser extent, D'Amico, because I thought Ryan's coached a pretty crappy game. But at the same time, we also have to give credit to the Patriots and the Patriots defense. The Patriots defense just kept coming and coming and coming. And knowing that if you just constantly get pressure on CJ, he's going to make mistakes. So you can kind of live with, a big play here or there, because they knew that he was going to be seeing ghosts, and he did. They saw early that he did not want to get hit, and he was just putting the ball in harm's way. Yeah, you just have to give the props to the New England defense and
Drake Maye. Drake Maye was good enough to get it done. He wasn't bad, he wasn't great, but he got the job done. But it just seems like such a waste of a fantastic Texans defense, right? Like, that defense is legit.
Yeah, I'm not really sure where. Look, I like Maye. I liked Maye early. I mean, I said that class was great. That I loved Caleb, Maye, and Bo. I wasn't sure about Jaden, but I am now. I think he's the real deal. The other two guys I don't particularly like, in JJ and Penix, but I always liked that draft. And I liked Maye. I like Maye. I think he's really good. My love for Bo and Caleb doesn't diminish the fact that I really think Drake is equal or as good or close to or better, whatever you want to say, to those two guys. I think Drake Maye's fantastic. I don't think he particularly played that well, to be honest. I thought he put the ball in harm's way too much too.
He was okay.
He was fine. He did make a couple of key throws. And at the end of the day, I would have liked to have seen what it would have been like had the Houston offense just been serviceable instead of terrible. That's not what happened. So Maye did enough. He got the job done. He was good enough. Every time Houston kind of got a little closer, Maye did enough to put his team in position to score. He threw a great ball to Booty, who made a fantastic catch, but he put the ball within the only spot that either Booty catches it or it's an incomplete pass. And sometimes as a quarterback, you've got to just give your guys a chance to win, because sometimes they do. And we look at, looking back at Josh Allen, not even the interception that Cooks had. There was an interception earlier where he threw the ball and he underthrew the guy, and I can't remember the guy's name. Number 9 just came right underneath and picked it off, like around the 5-yard line. That was, Maye wasn't doing that. Maye was at least putting the ball where only his receiver could catch it. And he did a good job there. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens when he's up against a defense that does that, and maybe an offense that doesn't give their defense the ball back, so often.
And then, with all due respect, to the Bills and Broncos, the game of the weekend for me was Rams in Chicago, winning another overtime thriller, 20-17. In a game that had it all. It had so many storylines to talk about. Stafford back in Chicago, Snow, Caleb, the whole bit. It was, you know, in this Bears team, that what were they, 2-3 or 2-4 or something? That, you know, when at the start of the season and have come all this way and made it to this game, and they were fantastic. And Caleb, I want to get your take on it, but where is Caleb in the NFL right now as far as best quarterbacks in the league? Because I think he's there. I think he's top 3 for sure. I think, in my opinion. And let's talk about it quickly. If you're watching this podcast or listening to it, you know the play I'm going to talk about, and that was with 20 seconds left in the fourth quarter. They're down 7, fourth and 5, I think it was, from the Rams 12. Or no, it was fourth and goal? No, it was like 4th and 5, but effectively there was 20 seconds left in the game, so it didn't matter. Caleb drops back, immediate pressure, like the blitz, they all come through the line. He starts the ball snapped on the 12. He throws off his back heel from the 40-yard line, 50 yards in the air, and finds Cole Kmet somehow open. And it was just the absolute perfect pass. He didn't have time to stand up and deliver a perfect, you know, form pass where he could get his weight. He's off his back leg that he threw. But when I'm watching the game, I just grabbed my head. Did that just happen? Like my girlfriend, we were just like, did that just happen? I can't believe that just happened. It was just one of those plays I'll never forget happened. Gets them to overtime. They end up losing in overtime, of course, and he throws the pick, whatever. But I thought he was fantastic in that game, and that pass, I don't know if you can even do it justice.
I mean, I think that Caleb's fantastic quarterback for sure. I'm not ready to put him in the top 3 in the NFL yet, but if we're redrafting right now, he would be in the conversation. But yeah, I love Caleb. He's one of my favorites. He was when he came out. I thought he was generational, and he's proving that he is. We can just take the first year. This is essentially his first year in the NFL. I mean, his first year with Eberflus, and you know, just everything was terrible there. I'm just going to throw that out. And yeah, he's definitely proven that he is an excellent quarterback. He does things that other guys can't do. He does things that Mahomes can do. He does things that Josh Allen can do. And he also seems to have that winner gene. They didn't win this football game, but he's shown over and over again this year that he does have the clutch gene. And yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with him in his career.
I saw a lot of takes on the DJ Moore interception where he leads DJ too far and DJ's coming across the middle, and it's like he gave up in the play. I'm like, I watched it about 5 times. I just think it's badly overthrown. You know, again, Caleb, I think, is fantastic, but I think he badly overthrew him in that spot. Maybe because he thought it was safe over there, but it wasn't.
I kind of think DJ quit on the route. I mean, yeah, does he have to take that spot? Maybe not, but like that's sometimes what you get when you get the great ones. I don't think Brady takes that spot. He's not going, you know, and that's a young quarterback but I don't think Stafford takes that spot. I don't think Brady takes that spot. Some of the winners that have, you know, found ways, like when you're in that position, you just have to take care of the football. That being said, DJ, I think runs a very, very poor route. He kind of quits on it and he goes upfield. He should have been coming back. He should have had a more abrupt cut. But yeah, I mean, I don't think Caleb needs to take that. But look, that's the thing. If you like Caleb in this society right now that we're in, this social media world, if you like Caleb, you're going to dismiss this. And if you dislike Caleb, you're going to be like, see, told you he's a loser. You know, he throws an interception when it matters the most. It's like these guys can't be perfect all the time. And we're going to look at a body of work. And that's why I think we're getting to the point where the jury needs to reconvene on guys like Josh Allen and Lamar, because they have had many, many bites at the apple and they've come up short. We're way too early in the Caleb discussion to know whether he's the guy or a guy. We already know he's extremely talented. We already know that like what he's done this year has been outstanding, but you know, I'm not ready to put him in the pantheon of quarterbacks because you have to win over time. You know, we'll be able to judge more in a few years, but I do know that if we're redrafting the NFL, right now he's going
let's do
to be
that.
near the top.
You got to win. You want to win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years. Let's redraft quarterbacks in the NFL. Give me your top 3 in the next 5 years.
Well, this is a show we're going to have in the future, so we're not going to. We'll do this. but this is an idea that I've had for a show for a while, and
Okay.
we're going to talk. We're going to do that, and we're going to redraft the quarterbacks in the NFL for the next 5 years, and that'll be a show that we're going to do. So start thinking about that, but we'll save that for another discussion.
Okay, sounds good. Fantastic football game. I enjoyed the heck out of that. It was incredible. All right, let's move on to looking forward to this weekend. We have 4 teams left. Patriots -4.5 at your Denver Broncos. So this opens up an interesting spot for you. You've had futures on the Broncos all year. I believe you had them at 12, 13 to 1 before the season to be the conference champions. So here you are with your team in the finals, and they would have been favorites. So I know you're not a hedging guy. I couldn't see you if Bo Nix is alive for this game. I don't think you're hedging now. And I think the opportunity opens up here for you. Again, you're not a hedging guy. I'm not a hedging guy. I'm vehemently against it. We can talk about hedging specifically in a second, but Patriots -4 at Denver gives you an opportunity for a middle here.
Well, no, it doesn't. It doesn't really give me a chance for a middle because I would be on.
Oh, you'd have. Sorry, yeah, it would have been the other way. Yeah.
Look, the way that I view hedging is I just start with what do I think is going to happen in this particular game? What do I think the odds are? Do I think the odds are correct or do I think the odds are incorrect? If I think that the Patriots are going to win this game with they're minus 260 now or something like that, if I think they're going to win at whatever price that is, 70% or something, then I'll take the Patriots and I'll take money off the table or I'll reduce my exposure. If I don't, then I won't. At this point, I see
goes to your belief in Jarrett Stidham, right? This is what it boils down to.
Yeah, it basically is just my belief in this team and the infrastructure that it has. I believe in Sean Payton. I believe in this offensive line. I believe in this defensive line. I think this is a really, really good matchup for the Broncos. The Broncos apply more pressure to the quarterback than any team in the NFL. The Patriots have been getting absolutely wrecked on the offensive line. They have just managed to play 2 teams in the Chargers and the Texans that also cannot protect their own quarterback. But Drake Maye has put the ball in harm's way. When people have gotten pressure on him, he has been able to respond. The Broncos defense has definitely shown the ability to get beat, but I don't see these receivers being able to beat this secondary.
You don't like Kayshon Boutte? He's made
fine.
some nice catches.
He's fine. He's a guy.
He's just a guy?
I mean, if you can get, they might make plays. They might score some, but I really think that this defensive line can disrupt them. And here's the thing about Sean Payton. There are some things late in games I don't particularly agree with. There are some kicking decisions that we might not necessarily agree with. He punted from the 40-yard line. But the thing I do know about Payton is he's a great preparer of a game plan. He's great at exploiting the weaknesses of the others. He's great at finding just these little things. That Mims touchdown play, they practiced that. They had that play, and he beat Patrick Surtain on that play in practice. And he told Mims, we're going to put this play in the game in a key moment. And he went to it. He finds little things like that. And I think there are things that Stidham might be able to do that Vrabel won't know is coming because they don't have a lot of film on him. And I trust Payton to be able to scheme up. And at the same time, Ben Johnson is tilting his balls off by going for it on 4th and 3 from his own 30. Payton doesn't do that. Payton plays the long game. He's going to put his team in the best position to win. If he needs to punt, he's going to punt. If he needs to play defense, he's going to play defense. If he needs to take the air out of the ball and limit possessions, he's going to do that. And I trust him to be able to do all those things. I'm not sure if the Broncos are going to win, but I definitely don't think that they lose this football game, 3 out of 4 times, which is basically what the money line is suggesting, or, whatever. It's a little less than that.
So you're going to take more. You're going to get more Broncos probably.
I'm definitely going to get some more Broncos. I think 4.5, 5 points is ridiculous. I think this game is closer to a toss-up. Because I have so much on the money line, I probably will just stay where I'm at on the money line. But I might give myself a chance to win more with the spread. Look, none of these bets are going to change my life. If I lose this bet, it won't be the first bet I lose.
You're also getting 12-1 or whatever it is. Like, it's not like you're laying. It's not a bridge jumper. You're not
Yeah,
laying.
I mean, whatever. I play bets to I bet to win the game. It's kind of I bet to win the bets, and I'm going to lose bets. I may lose this bet. I'm going to lose many other bets. I lose a bet every single day. Bet everything in my life is betting, and I don't need to show a profit on every single bet that I make. People who want to hedge, they're like, well, I want to show a profit on this bet, and it's like why? Like, if I lose this bet, but then the next bet I win by hedging some, it's like sometimes you're going to win the hedges, sometimes you're going to lose the hedges. If you just make these bets and you just choose not to hedge unless you think that the outcome is going to be different. I'm all for hedging if you think the outcome is going to be different. And we're going to talk about that with the Rams here coming up. But if I really legitimately thought that the Patriots were good value, then I would bet the Patriots. But I don't. And if I didn't have this bet, I would be unloading on the Broncos. So why should I just limit the size of the bet here? Because I've already had it, just because mentally I've already been clocking victory after victory in CLV, let's just go for all of it. And if it loses, it loses. That's okay. I've lost bets before and I'll lose them again. Now, I have seen some people that have some monster tickets.
Yeah.
And that's a different story. Like if you need the money, if your odds are so preposterous that you're going to be able to guarantee yourself a nice profit and you want to let some ride, then do so. If you think the Patriots, if you're like, there's no way Stidham's going to do anything, bet it all. Switch sides. I don't care. Do whatever you want, but don't just do it because you want to show a profit on one particular bet. Because it doesn't matter. This one particular bet doesn't matter. It's your portfolio of bets that matters. So if you're giving up EV in this bet, then you're gonna take EV in the next one. Like that's just not the way that I bet. I'm not afraid to lose. I don't play because I'm afraid to lose.
I think it's interesting too that, the injury happened right at the end of the game. They knew instantly that Bo Nix was not going to be available to them. It wasn't like he was, held out of practice and he might play or something like that. He was done. So immediately the focus shifts to getting Stidham and getting a game plan. If this happens on Thursday in practice, completely different story. They have a couple of days to pivot. I think this gives, like you said, it gives Sean Payton an entire week to game plan for it. And that's a big difference. I don't know how many points that equals to, but I think that's a big difference for a good coach.
Yeah, I mean, on the flip side, it does give Vrabel more time to put in a game plan for Stidham. But yeah, I mean, we've already seen a lot of confidence being shown by Payton. Look, this is his guy. I mean, I don't need to reiterate everything that you've seen on national media, but he was the first guy that he signed there. He signed him and as the replacement to Russell Wilson. I don't think anybody expected Bo Nix to come in and just steal this job from Stidham. I think Bo Nix was drafted as a project that he would, after a year or 2 years, and that Stidham would be the guy up until then. And then Stidham had a chance to go elsewhere, and Payton secured him again this offseason for the backup role. And look, Stidham he's learned under Josh McDaniel, under Bill Belichick, under Sean Payton. He's watched Bo Nix. He's watched Tom Brady. He is as prepared as a quarterback could ever be with the little number of starts that he has.
And let's talk about that, because if you've got obviously I have to go back and look at all the Broncos games to see if there's a spot that Sean Payton could have put him in for a couple of series, get him in there, give him a quarter or something like that. Maybe they're up, maybe they're down, whatever. But he's had next to no snaps in 2 seasons.
Yeah, he's had no.
Yeah, like I feel like that's a bit of a failure in Sean Payton's sort of part here, not getting him some kind of feel.
Yeah, I mean, the end of it, I mean, every Broncos game came down to the fourth quarter. I mean, if you remember, I think he has 8 comeback victories or 11 comeback victories this year. Yeah. I mean, look, they're playing for the number 1 seed. They're not playing for, their 24-year-old, 25-year-old quarterback getting injured. I'm fine with it. I mean, it kind of just is what it is, but I don't know. I'm not betting on or against Jarrett Stidham. I'm betting on this coaching staff. I'm betting on the offensive line. I'm betting on the defensive line. I'm betting on the raw emotion of the home crowd. I'm betting on the fact that
the Patriots might not be.
My
as
guys
good.
can scheme up better than your guys can. And I mean, I'm a big trenches guy. I've always been a big trenches person. And that's why I really felt like this Broncos team could help elevate Bo Nix, because he did have the offensive line. And I love Nick Bonito and Cooper and these guys on the defensive front for the Broncos. So I'm betting on the entire infrastructure of the Broncos organization to be able to do enough to keep them in the football game. And if they're in the football game and I'm getting over 2-1, and if they're in the football game and I'm getting 4-5 points, I like my spot. So that's where I'm going with this game.
All right, let's move on to the other game. And this is the Rams at the Seattle Seahawks, -1.5. Two of the best teams, right? Meeting again, a rematch of their sort of epic mid-December game that the Hawks ended up winning. This is going to be a fantastic game. I can't wait for it. It's just going to be another classic. I can't see this being a blowout either way. It's going to be really hard to blow out Seattle in Seattle, and I don't think that the Hawks are going to have their way with the Rams like they did with the 49ers. Two great football teams, David. Seattle -1.5. Are you leaning one specific way here?
Yeah. So like I've said multiple times on show and on X, I bet the Rams the day Devontae Adams signed. I have them at 14-1. Got a very nice future on them. I've never for 1 minute wavered on that. I've always thought that the Rams were the best team. I always thought the Rams were going to win the NFC. I can't say sitting here today that I have that level of confidence that I did. I up until 6 minutes left in the game on Thursday night a month ago, when the Rams were up 20 and Seattle came back, up until that moment, I thought that it was Rams always, but something flipped at that point, and I don't think the Rams are the same team that they were before that 6 minutes. I feel like that took a lot out of them. They have basically just kind of gotten through. I mean, they lost the game to Carolina. They barely beat Carolina in the playoffs. They barely beat the Bears in the playoffs. Stafford looks off. The defense is not getting the pressure that it once did. So I'm very, very concerned for this Rams team. Now, I'm not a hedger, but like I've said before, if I don't like my side and I can change, then I'm willing to contemplate that. I have not decided what I'm going to do, but there's a strong feeling that I might take money off the table with this Rams, because I'm really leaning on I'm leaning to the Seahawks. Here's where my problem comes in. I've always felt like the Rams match up best versus the Seahawks. That the one team that Darnold was going to struggle versus was the Rams. Chris Shula, the defensive coordinator of the Rams, has had Sam Darnold's number. The game when Sam Darnold was one of the best players in the NFL last year for Minnesota, and they were great. They could not be stopped on offense. They went down to LA, and we saw the old Sam Darnold. Chris Shula found ways to get pressure on Darnold. He made a lot of mistakes, and he basically just ended that game early. The first game in LA against the Seahawks forced Sam Darnold into 4 interceptions. He was seeing ghosts again. The first half of the game in Seattle a month ago, Sam Darnold was seeing ghosts again. He was making mistakes. And then he found it. And I don't know if maybe they figured out a way to stop the pressure, or it was just kind of the Rams laid off. I'm not really sure what happened, but up until 6 minutes to go in that game, I was 100% on Chris Shula and the Rams versus the Seattle team. And now I'm not as confident as I was. So I don't know.
So you might hedge.
Yeah, I might hedge. I might actually just switch sides. I don't really know. When you're getting 14-1, you can kind of do what you want. I could just bet everything I want on Seattle, and then I basically have the 13-1 on Seattle because I lose one unit and I win 14 that way. I don't really know what I'm going to do. I might lock up 5 units and play for 5 on whichever side I like. I just haven't decided where I'm going to go in this game. Part of me just wants to have been right from the beginning of the year and just might stick with my convictions on the Rams, but that kind of on this other side feels a little stubborn as well. So I'm really not sure what I'm going to do, but I will tell you that I don't have nearly the conviction that I had in this game that I would have had a month ago. I was all excited anytime, any place for this Rams team to play versus this Seattle team, I was going to take the Rams. And now I don't feel as much that way. And that's because this Rams team, Stafford's missing guys, man. He's not putting the ball where it needs to be. He's making the unforced errors, and Sam Darnold's not doing any of that. So I'm thinking that I may want to take some off the table here and have a smaller bet on this game and just maybe enjoy it as a football fan and choose my side, but play for smaller stakes, opposed to the Broncos where I want to play for more. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of having futures and having big odds is you can choose to play for as much as you want to play for, as much as you're comfortable. And I'm not anti-hedging, but I'm anti-hedging just for the sake of hedging. So that's kind of my stance.
Hedging early is bad.
Yeah, and also just hedging just because it's like, well, I love the Rams, but I'm just gonna hedge and I'm gonna lock up a profit for this bet. Like that to me is just that's loser mentality. But hey, if you don't like the side anymore, take money off. Like that's fine. There's nothing wrong with locking in a profit if you don't like the side. But if you're gonna bet the Rams anyway, and you've got the Rams, it seems silly to take money off. That's just kind of the way that I think about it.
David, you brought up some college football, and we did have a big college football game to talk about as well, the national championship. Of course, Indiana at Miami. An incredible story with Indiana. Are they the worst college program over the last, whatever it is, 20, 30 years?
I mean, they were one of them. I mean, you could basically just... worse in the Big Ten. It's basically them. Worse in the SEC. It's Vanderbilt. Like I mean, it's these teams, and I think we're entering a new age where you can find multiple different ways to build your franchise, build your school. So exciting as being an Auburn alum, an Auburn fan is. There's multiple ways that we can go about building a winner now. I mean, we tried getting the best recruits in the country under Freeze and it didn't work. And now we're choosing to go the other route. And we brought in a smaller coach and basically bringing over his entire program from South Florida. And that was kind of this Signetti model. So, it basically, no matter where you went to school, there are paths for you to rebuild. So exciting for the Indiana people. It was fun and refreshing to watch a team and a fan base get to celebrate that wasn't the same old tired Bama, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Georgia. Obviously I respect the blue bloods, and that's what the sport is. And yeah, it would probably be bad if we have just new rotating teams every year. But I think it's kind of fun to have like these new teams, these Ole Misses and Indiana's in there competing. And obviously this Mendoza story was, out of this world, movie-esque. The guy's a 2-star recruit. He asked Miami, can I walk on, not take a scholarship to play for you? And they go, no, we're good. And so he goes out to California, does enough there to get to be recruited by a terrible Big Ten program in Indiana. And he's like, I'm just going to take my shot. And, he goes there and build something, and now he's going to be the number 1 pick for the Raiders and wins a national championship. He'll have a statue outside of in Bloomington, Indiana, and yeah, a pretty great story. Seems like a good kid too, and a good family, and so we could use that in the NFL and in sports these days. We've got a lot of negative things in society, and to have somebody who's kind of built himself from bootstraps, yeah, it's pretty cool to see.
We got some questions that you put out on Twitter and a couple of comments in our YouTube channel as well. But before we do that, just quickly on some of the coaching hires that have been out there. Is this the biggest turnover of coaches? I don't think I can remember this many coaches getting canned and kind of retreading and coming back through the league.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know if it's just because we had, I think with the downfall of the Chiefs this year, it made all these other teams feel like they missed opportunities by not seizing this year. So all the bad
Ravens
teams
too, right? The Ravens and the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Ravens and the Chiefs. And so now you have all these teams that have always had the excuse, well, Mahomes was in the league. Oh, Manning. Oh, Brady. and Roethlisberger. And it's like, all of a sudden, it's like, well, now we don't have excuses. Like the AFC Championship is Maye versus Nix. I mean, it's your excuse time is over. Sam Darnold is leading the Super Bowl favorites right now. So your excuses are over. So all these bad teams that haven't been able to do it, you have to look and say, like, well, if Seattle was able to do it with Sam Darnold, if the Broncos were able to do it with $100 million cap hit with Russell Wilson, if the Patriots were able to do it from, they had the number 5 pick last year or whatever, number 4 pick. They were one of the worst teams in the NFL last year. Then why aren't we doing it? So you have all the bad teams that are having to retool, but then you also have the good teams that haven't been able to get over the top. A lot of their voices are old and tired in the room. So they're all taking this. The problem is, I don't think we really have that many good head coaching candidates. So, last year I thought that there were some good ones. I mean, we had Ben Johnson and we had Liam Cohen, who I think we all liked. Now we're basically in the retread era or defensive coordinator era. And being an offensive league, I think we really need to see who some of these defensive coordinators are able to bring in as offensive coordinators to even know if they're going to have a shot. I mean, you have to be able to develop quarterbacks in the NFL. And you can kind of see that, like, looking at this group, we've got Clint Kubiak, offensive coordinator that was able to really do some things with Carr in New Orleans before he got hurt. And now, has basically been able to build up Sam Darnold. You have Josh McDaniels, one of the best offensive coordinators in the history of the NFL, with Drake Maye. You have Sean Payton, quarterback whisperer, with Nix. So I mean, I want to see who some of these guys bring in as offensive coordinators before we can tell if they're good hires or not.
Which job, if you could pick one of the two best ones left, Baltimore and Buffalo? It's kind of similar, right? Really good quarterbacks on both teams, decent defenses, tough places to play. I don't know. They seem pretty similar.
Yeah, you always say, like, the most important thing for a coach to have is a quarterback. And I mean, I know this is controversial, but I mean, I take Lamar. Yeah. I would take Lamar over Josh. I don't know. I feel like they're both excellent quarterbacks, but I like this Baltimore job better. So I would go to Baltimore, and I'm interested to see who they both bring in. Does Buffalo go for Dable, who was the best off? I think Allen's best years were with Brian Dable as OC. Do they look in-house with Brady and think that, they're building something special there? And also Davis Webb, quarterback coach for the Broncos, is a hot young name that I think is really close with Josh Allen. Does he go there? Who are they, or are they going to bring on a game manager again, like somebody who can just kind of hold the ship together, that we need a better adult in the room, and they go for a Mike McCarthy type or something like that? But that would be kind of silly because they just let that guy. No. They just let that guy go and
don't say it. That would be funny. All right, let's move on. Let's get some questions. And this is from Twitter. You throw out this thread each week, it seems, a couple hours before we record to see if anybody has any questions for us. Luke Johnson asks, this is a poker-related question. How do you think the new tax laws regarding gambling deductions, as well as the current political situation in the country, will affect the World Series of Poker this year, this summer? And just to bring everybody up to speed, the gambling deductions, I don't think we've talked about this, but there's currently in the big beautiful bill, you can only write off 90% of your losses. So in the US, if you won 10,000 in playing poker and then lost 10,000, you can only write off 9,000 of that. I mean, correct me if I have this wrong, David. I might, as a Canadian, but that leaves taxes being paid on $1,000 that you didn't win. And there's a lot of movement to get this overturned. I'm not sure if it's where it is currently, as far as that goes. But as far as the political things, I can talk a lot about that. I know, I don't know how much the U.S. sort of gets information about this kind of stuff, but in Canada specifically, we are avoiding the U.S. En masse, and all the border towns are sort of being shut down. Businesses, unfortunately, are going out of business, and this is all as a result of the American leaders talking about Canada being a 51st state. Canada's taken this personally. I don't think there's any doubt. All the trade wars and stuff. So I don't know what's going to happen. I know lots of Canadians that aren't going. I don't know how much of an effect that's going to have, because I thought that this year, and we had pretty big turnout at the World Series of Poker this summer. So I don't know that it made much of a difference. Don't know what it's going to be.
We've learned that poker players don't boycott.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's all hollow. I mean, gamblers are going to gamble. DGens are going to DGen. Poker's fun. It's what we do. And the tax law is ultimately only going to affect like a certain percentage of the people. I mean, you have to be winning and you have to win not so much, but
you have to be break even, right? You got to be a break even pro.
Yeah, for it to really bother you. And the reality is that like that's only going to happen X number of years. Some of the years you're going to lose too much where it won't matter. Some of the years you're going to win too much where it won't matter. And some of the years you're going to finish in the middle. At the end of the day, we're poker players. That's what we do. And if it's your hobby, then you're not really that worried about it anyway. I mean, these casinos are still filling up with people playing 000, roulette, and blackjack. Like, I mean, people take negative EV. I mean, people are still laying 110 juice on football bets. They're laying 120 and 130 on live betting. Like, people don't really care about EV. Gamblers are going to gamble. Also, I saw today there was some stuff with that tax that the prediction markets, I saw a 97% chance that it gets revoked on the prediction markets. Now, obviously, that's a small market and it might be just some small people leading the charge, but it definitely looks like there's some steam to this thing being overturned. So I'm not really particularly worried about it myself. If I end up winning so much money that I have to pay a little bit extra, then so be it. I'm not really worried about Canadians anyway, to be honest with you, because your tax laws are so prohibitive for tournament players anyway. I don't really think that.
What do you mean?
Well, because you have to immediately off the top pay off like 30-something% to the Canadian government.
You get it back.
Yeah, you can get it back, but that's always been a prohibitive thing for a lot of Canadian players. I know that there's a lot of Canadian players that don't play the volume that they would like because they don't want to have to deal with that prohibitive tax. So, I mean, yeah, there's a few guys out there like, Bucky, our friend, and some other ones that play, but I know that there are a lot of them that don't play anyway. So Canadians never really make up a big percentage of the World Series participants. And then you have, the Europeans, they have their own laws and things anyway. So, what we do here doesn't really matter. And Americans, we just have a big population of degenerates. So I don't really think that is going to affect it too much.
I think you'll get a handle on it when you go back and play in the World Series of Poker Europe. Maybe you'll get some people talking to you about it, and if they're changing their plans or
I've already planned. I've already booked my hotel and things. I'm going to Prague, so I'll be at World Series Europe. That's my plan right now. Obviously, some things can change, but I'm excited to make World Series Europe part of my schedule again this year, and I'm not slowing down my tournament schedule. I'll be playing PGT next week and the week after. So yeah, I'm excited for tournament season and for everything that this year has to hold. And I'll just hope that the political stuff kind of takes care of itself. Obviously, we're in a lot of turbulence right now, but
you have a madman leading your country. Yeah.
I'm just going to bury my head in the sand and do what I always do and just gamble.
Inheritance 79 asks, any value in betting Seahawks defensive players for Super Bowl MVP?
I mean, you can. I don't know. That's just not
you
really.
You got to make it first. Let's get them to the Super Bowl first.
I mean, obviously you're getting bigger prices now on that kind of stuff because, there's only X% chance that they make it and yada, yada. Sure. I don't know. That's not really a market that I explore too much. It's just, I think there's so much juice baked into those markets that I would just rather put my bets elsewhere. Just, bet on, I would just either wait for Seattle or bet some on Seattle. And then, if you want to take whatever you profited on that, I mean, if you just bet Seattle right now to win the Super Bowl or make the Super Bowl, you can have more money to bet at worse odds next week or whatever. I don't know. It's not really a market that I explore, but I understand the thinking. The thinking is that, Darnold is not a slam dunk MVP if he wins like a lot of quarterbacks are. And there are paths for the Seahawks winning that game by 1 touchdown to Barner and a touchdown to Cup, and Shaheed gets something, and then you have 3 sacks and a defensive touchdown. I understand the path, but I don't really know enough about the odds on that kind of stuff to make an informed tout.
Carlos Figgy asks, how do you cap without Nix being around and selling any of your Broncos features? We talked about that. Some of the YouTube comments I thought, or 2 of the I clipped those, and it's kind of funny to look back on now. So this is our show from last week. So Steve Northrup 7146 writes, your take on Allen going down at the 1 is flat out wrong. You can do that for a field goal to win, but not a touchdown. As a Seahawks fan, trust me, you score the TD there and take the lead. You don't assume you can score TD from the 1. And this is just a math. Like, I don't know, anecdotal stuff when the Seahawks obviously threw the interception aren't really. It's a math problem, right? How many times do they score on 3 downs instead of 4 there for a touchdown, and then versus how often does Trevor Lawrence come back and score? So anecdotal stuff doesn't do
everything is every comment is basically anecdotal these days. I mean, if Ben Johnson, if the Bears win that football game in overtime, everybody's all look at, he understood that his team struggled from goal line situations, and his team had the momentum. They felt confident in overtime, and look at that great decision. Now they didn't score and they lost, and it's like, oh, he's an idiot. He should have gone for 2. They had the momentum, whatever. Yeah. Everything is anecdotal. So, obviously, I feel very, very confident that the Bills made a bad decision by not kneeling the ball there. It worked out for them, so fine. It could have also worked out. It's going to work out a bigger percentage by kneeling on it. We already went over that last time, so I don't think we need to really necessarily go out. I did want to say there was one more question that I saw.
Yeah, let's do that one.
Which one are you talking about?
This is Rob's 4530. He says, who knocked out the Broncos from the playoffs last year? This will be an easy win for Buffalo. Bet the alt line minus 13.5. It's free money.
Oh, I missed that one, but good one. I hope you're enjoying your free money. I have one from Bish QQQ. I want to bet the Rams to win the Super Bowl. What's a fair price? I looked at that, and I think I'd basically look at it this way if I was a Rams bettor. If you think that the Broncos have a reasonable shot to get there, I think that I've seen them at 230. Something like that. If you could find like up to 250, if you think the Broncos have a legitimate shot, I would go ahead and bet them at 220 to 250, because they're going to be 8-point favorites in the Super Bowl. But if you think that the Broncos have no shot, I would probably just bet the money line this week on the Rams, and then put whatever your winnings plus investment and bet them the next week against the Patriots, because I think you'll get better odds that way. I think that's basically your decision point, is handicapping the odds you think that the Broncos get there. And if you think it's reasonable, then I would go ahead and feel comfortable betting the 230 or 240 if you can find it. But if you really don't believe in Stidham and you believe in this Patriots team, then I would just wait, because you'll be able to do better by just rolling your money.
One quick thing I wanted to ask you about the Broncos game, and I forgot to ask you when we were talking about it. And if you're Vrabel, you haven't seen much of Stidham. Nobody has. Do you sell out, like just assume he can't throw the deep ball and just sell out and try and stop all the stuff in the flat and really force him to beat you deep? Like, it's just this weird spot for Vrabel, and that's that might be the safe play or whatever. But I don't know how he's going to go about doing this. I don't know what I would do.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, that's the football chess aspect of it. As same thing with he's just got to try to judge Peyton. I think I would go back and look at how Peyton handled some of the other backup quarterbacks he's had. He went to war with Bridgewater when at times when Breeze got hurt, and he had Taysom Hill back there some. I would expect Peyton to really ratchet up some tricks, and I would also think he's going to do things to get confidence in his guy. I mean, look, we know that Peyton is the biggest Bo Nix supporter out there, but he called a lot of safe game plans for Nix throughout the year. I mean, I've watched very closely every Broncos game, every play of every Broncos game, and sometimes I got frustrated with the conservative nature of it. So I don't think he's just going to go out there and just let it fly with Stidham. I think he will let him have shots, but I think if he trusts him enough to make good decisions, I think he's just going to try to probably call a safer game plan. I think he believes in his defense so much that he can take advantage of, field position and hopefully turnovers. And I think that's the way he goes about it. I think he's, one thing that I love about Peyton from a poker stand, just comparing to a poker player that sometimes we see these guys making these huge risks and 5-bet bluffing and all these things. That's Ben Johnson. That's Dan Campbell. Those are the things that he does. That's not Sean Payton. Sean Payton's punting from the 40. But he's calculated. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have the gamble in him. It's things that I do at the poker table. Like I'll let you have this little one. I'll let you have this little one, but then I'm going to go for this big one because I see this spot. And don't be afraid. Don't be surprised if he runs a fake punt from his 40-yard line, because he's already shown his willingness to punt the football. He's already shown his willingness to pass up long field goals. He's already shown his willingness to punt on fourth and short and play field position. It's all setting up things. And maybe you might take a little bit of the negative EV play right now, but he understands the long game, and he might have people slamming him on Twitter because he lowered his win percentage 1.3% by not going for it in this spot, but he also might be setting up the big play, the big spot, the big situation. And that's something that these bots or these analytical thought processes don't always come up with. It's that age-old question that you ask in the first hand of the World Series. If you could turn over your hand and you have ace king and somebody has ace jack, do you call or do you wait for better? It's all these little things. Sometimes you have to pass on some small EV to get bigger EV down the road. So yeah, I think I don't be surprised if Sean Payton has something up his sleeve for this game and some different spots.
And we didn't really touch on it, but I think J.K. Dobbins is back this week, right? I think that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, there's a chance he's back. We don't know for sure yet, but yeah. I would love that,
back,
obviously.
If he is back, that's a big help, especially with how they're going to have to scheme this game, right? That would be pretty big.
Run through a motherfucker face.
All right, we know who I'm picking. Who are you guys picking?
Yeah, okay, let's do this. You've got Denver. I also have Denver plus 4.5. Ross, Patriots minus 4.5 at Denver. Who do you got?
I still have a future on Denver, so we're rooting for Denver.
You got Denver? Okay. Rams at Seattle. Seattle 1.5. I got Seattle. I think David's got Seattle.
I'm going to stick with the Rams for now. I have not fully decided, but I can say that I'm not comfortable. But my official prediction is going to be Broncos Rams.
Okay, and Roscoe?
Broncos Seahawks.
Broncos Seahawks. There we go. Okay, and just to point out, this is anecdotal. The Seahawks are 1-0 when I'm drinking coffee on our podcast out of my Marvin mug. So that's an example of anecdotal evidence to the fact that the Seahawks are going to win. All right. Thanks to you guys for getting together. Had a great time. This was we thought was a 30, 35-minute show. We turned into 90 minutes somehow because we love talking about football. And thanks to you guys out there for sticking with it and listening to us babble. And go Seahawks, go. It's going to be a great weekend of 2 football games. We'll talk to you next week.